Anna had always enjoyed her late-night shifts at the small-town convenience store. It was quiet, and the regulars were mostly harmless drifters and truckers passing through. But tonight felt different. There was a chill in the air that seemed to seep into her bones, and every creak of the building made her nerves prickle. Around 1 a.m., she noticed a figure outside, standing just on the edge of the store's lot, illuminated only by a flickering streetlight. He was tall, too tall, and wore a long, dark coat. His face was hidden in the shadows, but she felt his eyes on her. Anna tried to shrug it off, chalking it up to a trick of her tired mind. But when she glanced back a few minutes later, he was still there, motionless, watching. Trying to ignore the unease creeping over her, she busied herself restocking shelves. She told herself it was just a stranger passing by, someone who would move along in a few minutes. But when she returned to the counter, he was still there, standing in the same exact spot. With a shaky breath, she reached for her phone to call the local police. Just as her fingers hovered over the screen, a voice broke the silence. It was soft but somehow carried through the air, as if whispered directly in her ear. Anna! Her blood ran cold. She hadn't told him her name, hadn't even seen his face properly, but he knew her. She looked up, heart pounding, but the figure was gone. For a brief moment, relief flooded her, until she caught sight of him in the reflection of the glass door. He was no longer outside. He was standing just a few feet behind her, his form towering and indistinct, his face hidden in shadows. Anna, he repeated, his voice dripping with menace. Her scream caught in her throat as she spun around, but there was no one there. The store was empty. Frantically, she checked every aisle, every corner. Nothing. She grabbed her phone, dialing 911, but all she heard on the line was static, then soft, labored breathing. "Help me," she whispered, clutching the phone tightly. "Anna," the voice on the other end murmured back. In blind panic, she bolted out the front door, fleeing into the night. She didn't stop until she was halfway down the empty street, gasping for breath. When she dared to look back, she saw the figure standing in the doorway of the store, watching her with empty eyes that seemed to glint in the darkness. His face was still obscured, but she knew he was smiling. The next day, the police found Anna's body in the alley behind the convenience store. Her expression was twisted in terror, her eyes wide open, as if frozen in the moment of her last scream. Inside the store, the surveillance tapes played a curious scene. Anna, alone, screaming at nothing, staring into the darkness with terror-stricken eyes. There was no sign of the man she had described, just her, running from shadows that seemed to shift and pulse, almost as if they were alive. For weeks after, people reported seeing the shadowy figure on the edge of the convenience store's lot, a tall man in a long, dark coat just beyond the streetlight. But whenever they approached, he would disappear, and on quiet nights, the new clerks would hear a soft whisper calling their names, as if something sinister lingered, waiting in the dark.